So I noticed over the weekend that the notorious John and Yoko album, sometime in New York City, was getting the deluxe box set treatment after being rumored that it might happen, it might not happen, was being censored, wasn't being censored. Well, we finally got the announcement over the weekend from Sean Lennon that they were going to reissue the one-to-one concerts that happened for charity at Madison Square Garden in 1972. They were going to do a deluxe reissue where they would simultaneously attempt to bury the existence of this album. What they've done is deleted this track. Now, I was surprised in one sense that this bit of censorship has happened because the album was previously reissued as a remix in 2005 and then had its original mix reissued in 2010. So it seems unlikely that it would be censored, but they've gone and done it. You see, they've essentially made the original album a sort of bonus disc in this box set. It's kind of a clever bit of marketing, I suppose. But it's really just backfired in reminding everybody what the original intention of John Lennon and Yoko Ono was in their radical political phase, where they wrote some of the worst songs ever to be committed to tape. So they've actually deleted "Woman is the N-word of the world." Now, this song was written by Lennon as a kind of feminist anthem. You can imagine how pleased John and Yoko were with their bit of subversive rhetoric and wordplay shenanigans. Because what the song is saying, the N-word is the worst thing to call someone by classifying them as subhuman. And he's saying, oh, well, women are even less respected than that. But what really gets my goat about this song, I mean, it's a funny song because I would argue that it's maybe the last time Lennon gave a really impassioned vocal on record. If you think of how great his vocals were that ran from Twist and Shout to Instant Karma and the Plastic Ono Band album, this song feels like the last time he gives that impassioned use of his full vocal range. And it's always just a shame that the song is absolutely diabolically awful, mainly because of the lyrics. Now, the N-word doesn't bother me. What really bothers me on this song is Lennon singing over and over, "We make her paint her face and dance." And the song ends with them endlessly repeating that. Because obviously, nobody makes women paint their face and dance. They paint their face and dance to attract a mate because they wish to. This is the idea that women are some sort of innate victim of the male gaze. Lennon's lyrics always make me think of like someone who's given up smoking and then spends their life going around telling everybody about the evils of smoking. Because whatever guilty feelings you had, John Lennon, Yeah, I don't share them. I have nothing to apologize for or regret or beating up your ex-wife or whatever. And when you see the image is so comical, this of like a horned demon stabbing a woman and attempting presumably to rape her. It feels like the 70s equivalent of the modern psychological operations that seem to pervade all mass media now in attempting to turn men against women. You know, if we're given all these horrible terms like incels and alphas, betas. It's like all the people on Reddit talking about is it better to meet a man or a bear in the woods? You know, this is pure psychological warfare on people who don't even realize they're at war. Fourth generation warfare. But I bought this album because, you know, it, and maybe more than other albums, particularly Lennon albums or solo Beatle albums, it's a real slice of history. I mean, I really wanted it for the bonus disc. The bonus disc recorded with Frank Zappa in 71 and the Lyceum in London in 69. Right, they had such luminaries. There's George Harrison, Keith Moon, Billy Preston, Delaney and Bonnie Bramlett. I think that's Klaus Vormann, Bobby Keys. That album was released as a bonus and was something along the lines of pure freak-out krautrock, something which is hated by or just completely unappealing to most Beatle fans. But that 1969 show, Cold Turkey, Don't Worry Yoko, it's just pure freak out. I always wondered, when you listen to the first two Yoko Ono albums, Plastic Ono Band and Fly, I always wonder, was it a strange synchronicity how similar it is to what was happening in some of those early krautrock bands, or if Yoko Ono was ever aware in the 70s of what Damo Suzuki was doing with Can. There is a weird kind of parallel in that stuff. But I do find after those albums, Plastic Ono Band, Fly, Approximately Infinite Universe, Yoko really did nothing else terribly interesting. She just seemed to try and make her music more appetizing to pop rock fans, where you end up with their songs on Double Fantasy in 1980 as a kind of new wave claim, say, oh look, the B-52s caught up to what we were doing. But anyway, the funny thing though is, of course, when you include bonus albums on original vinyl records, they always increased the price anyway. So it was all kind of financially disastrous. And I think one thing was for sure, Frank Zappa wasn't happy that John and Yoko scribbled over his Mothers at the Fillmore East, June 1971 cover, and rewrote the titles because Lennon didn't realize that Zappa's band was playing the tune King Kong. He just listed it as, well, baby don't go, jamrag, scumbag, ow. Not realizing that Zappa and his band were performing finished compositions. Anyway, that's why I bought this, was to have this on analog, the bonus. record. The original album is pretty diabolically awful, but fascinating as a piece of history. Make it a love call, pass it on to the world. I mean, you have to love this, that they reprinted this ad for the British Army that apparently appeared in the Sun 1st April 1970, prior to Bloody Sunday. We'll help you travel the world and kill people, As much sport as you want. Join the professionals. I've no idea what £17 sterling is today. You have to appreciate that kind of agit-prop. Because the one thing about this album is that it was released so soon after Bloody Sunday in Northern Ireland. So I think in the UK this album got to something like, was it number 11? And that's surprising. But I think, Lennon was one of very few public figures and, such a famous person to comment on what happened on Bloody Sunday directly. I can't think of anyone else at that time, with the exception of McCartney putting out the excruciating Give Ireland Back to the Irish with its immortal lyrics, Britain, you are tremendous. And what happened on Bloody Sunday was probably, in reality, something very similar to what happened at the Maidan in Ukraine, where you had snipers shooting people on either side to provoke everybody, which seems to be the case with, it's said that the IRA sniper on that day was the chap who went on to shake hands with the Queen. Sunday, the look at the Irish is the excruciating one with Let's Walk Over Rainbows like leprechauns. The world would be one big Blarney Stone. John Sinclair, famously manager of the MC5 and the White Panthers, and seemed like a bit of a Marxist scumbag. Because John and Yoko became involved with all these radical people such as Jerry Rubin and Abby Hoffman, who more than anything else were self-promoters. And I think as soon as Nixon won the 72 election, he pretty much abandoned the whole thing, walked away from it. Some very interesting stuff in the One-to-One documentary about that came out recently. And interesting to note how that time period is perceived by younger listeners, looking at it through a lens of, Black Lives Matters and Antifa and all this nonsense. They're looking at the rhyming history, but at the same time they're looking through the wrong end of the telescope. It's not that things are spontaneously rhyming, it's that all those dubious far left progressive Bolshevik Jacobin psychos were all the same people who then were involved with Obama, his family, his mother, his father. There's a whole rabbit hole, but these are basically the same people. And as they endlessly try and create their progressive utopia by going to war against God and nature, and in the process only causing more suffering. We look askance at the past to understand it. I mean, it's interesting, you have this song Angela about Angela Davis. You can read up about her and determine what is true, or to what extent all of these sort of people were all just playing games on behalf of various alphabet soup agencies. But what always interests me that this song, another excruciatingly awful song, Angela, they gave you sunshine, they gave you sea, they gave you everything but the jailhouse key. They gave you coffee, they gave you tea, they gave you everything but equality. Now compare this song to the song Sweet Black Angel on Rolling Stones' album Exile on Main Street, which was also released in 1972, where Mick Jagger gives a wink of the eye, a flash of his chic, radical credentials by including the song Sweet Black Angel on the album, but making absolutely no overt political point. So certainly Exile on Main Street has aged a lot better than this. But I should show you as well the full package, because oh yeah, you also got this is the Canadian pressing I found, but you also get this, which is it's kind of a prepaid mail letter to be sent into Radio City, John and Yoko committee at Radio City, New York, to ask them not to deport them for their chicness, their radical chicness. Fascinating bit of history. And then it's kind of cool little postcard, because those extras always tend to get lost, like the postcards in Exile on Main Street. That's a nice little picture. But so the world goes on, and what was old is new again, just more censored. It's funny, they put the little editorial at the top, the late City edition, whether Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, established 1984. So Sean Lennon has gone along with censoring his own father to get a commercial product onto the market. And people would argue, oh, it's no way of knowing what John Lennon would have thought today, as he's always accused of constantly changing his mind. But whatever his political opinions might be, some 50 years later, if he had lived, I can't believe he would have gone along with censoring his own work that had been actually released to the public previously. But Sean probably also lives in that liberal elite world, and who knows if he rubs shoulders with Marxist grifters like Black Lives Matters. We live in such a strange time when younger people embrace censorship, control, the ring fencing of the mind that doesn't allow any controversial thought to even come to fruition. Such a strange time in history we find ourselves, and one that asks us to completely destroy the past and only to recognize the past which aligns with our contemporary transient values. Because I think so much media that has been created in the last 20 years will look horribly dated in another 20 years. If we get that far as the human race. But anyway, there are things we can agree on, such as the entire world is a musical instrument. The pole of the world celestial is intersected where this heavenly chord is divided by the spiritual sun. Earthly music is an echo of this cosmic harmony. It is a relic of heaven. Even as they dabbled in the devil's game of politics, they still appreciated cosmic understanding. You have to appreciate the picture there they did of Richard Nixon and Chairman Mao. Definitely a strong argument could be made that We're All Water, Yoko's song, is actually the best song on the album. New York City isn't bad as well. Talking about David Peel, Pope Smokes Dope and all that. But it's so odd to think of this radical moment that people, most ordinary people, most music fans at the time found nonsense. People would have sympathy for the, John Sinclair going to prison, the Bloody Sunday, the Attica State riots, and so on. But as a package, it's just agitprop. And as I said, when you look at these people who went on to be directly involved with Obama and people like Allen Ginsberg, who took the opportunity to dive headfirst in, because he saw that same progressive agenda was an opportunity for the normalization or legalization of, how do you say on YouTube, access to children in an extremely evil sense. Ginsberg was one of the first people who became part of, NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association. Excuse me while I go and vomit. There was so much critique of the nuclear family, Christianity, these sort of insane Freudian ideas of, conscripted soldiers in Vietnam were burning down whole villages out of sexual frustration. There was a lot of very dubious ideas all mixed up at the time. And, there was good things that came out of the hippie movement, like, organic food, handmade clothes, living outside corporate systems and not having your entire reality experience mediated by corporations and corporate products. But alongside that were lots of extremely dubious people who were mentally ill, psychopathic, sociopathic, who jumped headfirst into all that chaos as a means of achieving their own narcissistic ends. And you can see a direct line going from Allen Ginsberg's desire to get access to children to the rainbow flags flying today. What was old is new again. And the great irony is that, the progressives have no final state to reach. There is no utopia. There is only a constant sense of shark eating its own tail, in that they come to reject their own over, so John and Yoko so fervently embracing the radicals and giving the weight of their fame to their insane ideas. Traveling through to the psyop society we live in. I mean, you could say we're all N-words to the 0.1% capitalist oligarchical system. And you can see the continuation of those ideas in people like the Tavistock-inspired knee crap, who wish to present themselves as wiggers of the working class. And all we have are these relics of the analog age, moments in time captured on tape. And now, in this more enlightened age, all we can do is hide our artifacts in the attic, lest the thought police come to knock on our door.